Hey, this is Max, and in today's video we are going to take a look at how to migrate your website from WordPress to Webflow, and all of that without doing something stupid. So I wanted to do this video for quite a long time, but it is so extensive that I was always postponing it, but finally it's here. And what you can expect from this video is the following. So first of all, I will cover the basics of WordPress versus Webflow, also the question of whether you should migrate or not migrate, and talk about the things that can go wrong. We have done these things wrong in the past, so you better learn from our mistakes and do your migration in the right way. And then we are going to move over to an actual real-life example where we migrate a simple website from WordPress to Webflow step by step. And if you want to skip all the basics and already made your decision that you want to migrate, you can also skip in the video to this point and then see all the steps that we are taking. And I really believe this is the best video out there that you will find, because most of the other videos are missing a lot of the important parts from SEO redirects, but also things like internal linking and any kind of like images that need to be redirected. And to make you the migration as easy as possible, we created a migration checklist that you will find in the description below. And if you need some white glove services, you will also find some links in the description below where we help you do your migration from WordPress to Webflow. But let's jump in and talk about the basics of WordPress versus Webflow. So WordPress has been released in 2003. It's an open source project and it was initially built as a blog CMS. So initially it was a software that was used by bloggers to create their blogs out there. And it has a very, very strong focus on third-party developers and third-party plugins. That means everyone out there can create a plugin for WordPress that other people can install. And over the last, over 20 years, hundreds of thousands of developers have created plugins for the different areas. So for example, for SEO, but also some plugins convert your WordPress website into an actual e-commerce store. So the ecosystem in general is very, very broad, big, and most of the websites that are out there run on WordPress these days. Webflow, in comparison, was founded 10 years later, and they wanted to build the best website builder out there. And the CMS was an add-on to that. And Webflow was always very, very focused on visual design control. They weren't thinking of creating a tool that was there for everyone, but specifically for people that were used to web development or web design that just wanted to have a tool to make their life easier. And Webflow in general works as a software as a service solution. So everything that you will see is hosted on Webflow's platforms themselves. They charge a fixed monthly fee for that. And they also do all of the development for the main core of the software. And as you can imagine, and as I already said, WordPress is here. So most of the websites that are in the internet right now run on WordPress, and Webflow in comparison is like a very, very small percentage of websites. And this is just like a screenshot from Google Trends, so you can see the difference in search volume that both of these terms have. I just wanted to show this to you because that also means if there is any question that you might have around WordPress, there will be an answer somewhere around the web, because the community is very, very active and more people are using it. And for Webflow, you might need to figure out some of the answers on your own. So let's jump over to what is same between both of the tools and what's the difference. So in terms of similarities, both tools have a CMS functionality. That means that you can easily edit, input new content, and also many editors across your company, across your group can do it. Second up, both tools have visual design capabilities. Very, very different in how it's structured, but with both of them, you can visually create websites. Third of all, both tools can be extended through plugins. WordPress a lot, let's say, because there are many, many plugins out there, and there's also an official way to integrate the plugins into the solution. With Webflow, it's very, very little plugins, and most websites don't use any at all. But there are still some that you can use, and maybe we'll talk about this a little bit later. And both of them have very, very active communities that help with any kind of issues, but also help to develop the whole ecosystem. The biggest differences between the two platforms is WordPress can be self-hosted. So you have the code, it's open source, that you can run on your servers. Webflow, in comparison, is a software as a service solution. So you need to have a plan with them, pay them to host the website. And yeah, that's the main difference here. In terms of pricing structure, that also means that you need to pay Webflow a fixed monthly or yearly fee, versus for WordPress, you can host it on your own service. Then you just need to pay the hosting for the service, but there's no fee that you are going to pay to WordPress themselves. In terms of difference, we have also the ease of use. So yeah, it depends who you ask, but in my perception, Webflow is way, way easier to use. And also in terms of customization, there are big differences. So with WordPress, you can customize literally everything because you can go into the code of the website. With Webflow, you have limited customization options, but this will also help you to not screw something up. And last but not least, in terms of coding knowledge, so I would say with WordPress, at some point, you need some sort of coding knowledge for customization, the building of themes and these kind of things. You will probably need PHP knowledge. And for Webflow, you don't need that at all. And you can build a stunning website without any coding knowledge. So the main question that I get a lot is, should I migrate my website? And I will talk a little bit about the advantages of doing it, but also the disadvantages, and then talk about how we made the decision for ourselves. So should I migrate? Yes, go for it. And there are a couple of reasons. So first of all, Webflow has a way better design flexibility. So it's way, way easier to change layouts, to create stunning designs, also with animations, without like bloating up your whole website. Second up, in my opinion, Webflow is way, way easier to use. On the one hand, for the web designer or web developer, but also for the one that is putting in content in the editor. Third up, Webflow is built responsive first, so it's really, really easy to create stunning design layouts for all sorts of mobile devices, tablets, desktop. And in the end, you also don't need any kind of plugins for the basic functionality. So let's imagine SEO. With WordPress, you probably need a plugin to do any kind of SEO work. For Webflow, this is already integrated. Next up, Webflow has a way better performance in terms of speed, but also usability. And this also helps for better SEO rankings with your website. And 7 up, enhanced security. So 5, 6, and 7, Webflow takes care of a lot of these things for you. So instead of you trying to figure out a server that is loading really, really fast, and also always updating the newest versions of PHP, but also the plugins in your WordPress installation, this is what the Webflow team will do. So you are always very much saved, and also you will always have backups and these kind of things because they will take care of it. And number 8, save money. So I know most people would probably say WordPress is cheaper because you can host it yourself and then you can have a very, very cheap server. But just imagine all the plugins that you need to add on to your WordPress installation to accomplish the same stuff that you would have in Webflow from the first place. And also everything that you need to consider in terms of security, updating, and these kind of things. If you take everything into account, it will be more expensive than running with Webflow. And there are also a couple of more advantages of going over to Webflow, but I will keep them for now because you can already see I'm a big fan of it. So what are the disadvantages? You should stay on WordPress if you want to have 100% ownership of your data and 100% control. What do I mean by that? So you host everything on your servers, on your databases. That means no one else can touch it. You have 100% control of the data and also of the software itself. You can customize whatever you want. Third off, flexibility of dynamic applications. So as I already said, with WordPress, there are hundreds of thousands of plugins, and you can turn your blog into an e-commerce store, but also any kind of like marketplace, very, very dynamic applications that WordPress wasn't built for in the first place, but some people made it work over time. And this is also because of the huge community, because in the end, there are thousands of people working on WordPress every single day. and also creating new cool plugins. And I also mean that by a solution for everything, because if there is an issue with WordPress somewhere around that you come across, there will be a person that had the issue before you, and then you can just Google it and find an answer quite quickly. But in my opinion, I would, for 99% of the websites, always opt in for Webflow. And we have been migrating all of our websites that in the past we have built on WordPress to Webflow over the last couple of years. I've been a WordPress Webflow user now for over 5 years, I think. And I love it because it has the best functionalities in terms of design. It is very easy to use, and I never had an issue with security or any of these things. And when I was just like logging into another WordPress installation, you will always see these things. So plugins that need to be updated, bugs that need to be fixed. But also, as you can see in this like very, very simple WordPress site, we needed 24 plugins to accomplish a basic functionality. And this is just crazy because you are using plugins, like over 20 plugins that were created by anyone out there in the wild that you don't know, and like integrating this code into your website. And this is also a big security threat because you never know what they programmed into it. And that's why we always consider Webflow as our go-to solution for any website. So in terms of the migration itself, there are 4 very, very important areas that we will cover in this video, but also that you need to think of in migrating your website. First of all, content. With content, I mean everything from static pages, dynamic pages like blog content and these kind of things, but also images, files, everything that you can think of. Second up, design. So your website has a look and feel right now. Your website will also have a look and feel in the future, and you need to transfer that somehow or even change it in the migration. Third up, anything that comes up with functionality. These could be simple forms, but could also be complex interactions between the user and the website. And then last but not least, a lot of our homework that we need to do around SEO, let's call it. So everything that relates to domains, redirects, and these kind of things. And we need to make sure to not screw this up, because then we will have a problem further down the road. And the perfect migration, how does it look like? So first of all, we want to make sure that all the content that was there before is also there afterwards. Second up, all forms and dynamic elements are working. Also, all functionalities are working, and we also want to make sure that the tracking that we had before, so for example, Google Analytics, but also conversion tracking and these kind of things, are transferred from one website to the other. Then, very important, we don't want to have a URL that ends up in no man's land, meaning that if someone clicks on a URL that they have bookmarked, they should end up on the same page on your new website. Improved structure and on-page SEO. What I mean with that, in the best case, if we migrate from WordPress to Webflow, we have also the chance to improve some things and make it easier to use going forward. Q&A and post-migration tasks. So this is everything that relates to quality control, where we need to make sure that the website is working properly, and also things that we can optimize further down the road. And last but not least, we want to make sure that the website is tested on different browsers, devices, and sizes, so that everyone can use it in a very, very nice way. Over the last couple of years, we have done a ton of migrations from WordPress to Webflow, and there are a lot of things that can go wrong. And I wanted to share the top 6 ones, because I don't want you to make the same mistakes that we did. So first of all, main one is URL changes. So it's very likely that if you migrate, that some of the URLs are changing. And we want to make sure that a URL, for example, of a blog post that we had before, is pointing to the same blog post on the new website. And this is really, really important, not only for the user, but also for Google. Second up, missing content. Depending on the size of the site, it's really easy to miss some of the pages or some of the dynamic content like blog items, and not transfer all of it. So we want to make sure that this is complete. Third up, missing functionality. So I would say it's very, very likely that not everything that you had before can be rebuilt one-to-one. So sometimes you need to change a little bit. Also because Webflow is a very, very, let's say, closed ecosystem, and you can't adjust everything that you can see. So we need to find workarounds for some of the things. Fourth would be user adoption. So imagine all the people that are working in WordPress right now. If you move over to Webflow now, they have a totally different interface. They don't know how to upload blog articles or change something on the website. So we want to make sure that every user knows exactly how to use Webflow in the future and also sees the advantages of Webflow. Number 5, not everything at 100%. With that, I mean, like, if we are not doing our Q&A properly, we probably gonna miss some stuff on the website, and that is also normal because your WordPress website was probably running for a couple of months or even years, and hundreds of thousands of people have seen the website. You fixed bugs along the road, but it's sometimes really, really hard to come out with a perfect website from the start. So we need to make sure that we are also optimizing the website over time. And then number 6, migration bugs. So there are a couple of features or things that are quite easy to do in WordPress, but not so easy to do in Webflow. For example, internal linking or anchors in your blog articles is something that is quite easy in your WordPress installation, but once we transfer the content over to our Webflow installation, they will probably break, and so we need to make sure that we cover all of these things and not screw something up. And in the migration itself, I think it's always important to think of 2 things. So first of all, the Google crawler. So the Google crawler wants to find the content that it already knows. It wants to easily find new content, and it wants to give the searchers on Google the best experience. So Google will always put the websites first that have a good website speed, that have the right information, relevance, and all of these things. And I put that down because that means if a link of your website or a content piece of your website is in the Google search right now, you need to make sure that if someone clicks on this, lands at this specific content piece. And we can easily screw that up if we are not doing proper redirects. And in the best case, we even improve our content so that the experience is better, and then we will rank up higher in the search result pages. And second up, your visitors. So your visitors want to find the content they are used to. They want to have an easy to use website, and they want to have the same functionality as before. So if we think of these 2 groups from the get-go, we can always make sure that we are providing the best experience and that we are doing our migration properly. And when it comes to our number 1 priority, and I have been talking about this quite a lot in terms of URLs or the Google crawler, we want to make sure that all of the URLs that we have right now on our website, and this could be, for example, your domain /category/article name, that this, if someone opens this URL, they will end up, or they should end up at the same article on our new page. And it's very likely that the URL changes because, for example, instead of having the category name here, we could have a blog directory here. So we need to make sure that every single domain that is changing, we need to have a redirect, a 301 redirect, in which we tell Google, the Google crawler, hey, not only Google crawler, but also obviously if someone opens it up, we tell them, hey, this URL changed and the new URL for unlimited time will be on this, under this new URL. And we need to make sure to set this up because otherwise people will end up on error pages and Google crawler will end up on error pages, and then we will have screwed up our migration big time. So this is something that we will do a lot in the migration itself. And second up, just as a little side note, domain basics. So it is also quite likely that if you change to Webflow, that your main domain is changing. And www.yourdomain.com is not the same as yourdomain.com. This is really, really important. Even the www is a subdomain of your main domain. So you always need to think also of which one is your main domain here. So you can set the default one. And then also think of what that means for your redirects. But we will come to this at a later point in the video. And I think now the time has come to finally get started. So in the description below, you will find our migration checklist where we go through each step of the migration itself. if you need help to do that, you can also book a demo call with our expert team on how to do this. And for this example, I brought a real life example of one of my colleagues, Maria. She has a personal page that was running on WordPress before, and now I will show you how to migrate the full page from WordPress over to Webflow with all context that you need. And yeah, let's jump right in. Okay, so let's roll. Our plan today will be to migrate this website of Maria over to WordPress. And to do that, we are going to use our, let's say, WordPress to Webflow migration checklist, guide, whatever you call it. And the most important element here is our to-do board. So in the to-do board, you have a bunch of things that we will go through right now. And these are all the steps that you need to take to move the website over from WordPress to Webflow. And obviously, you can leave out some of the elements in here depending on the type of website that you have. And for bigger websites especially, you need to add some more steps in this. But I think it's already helpful to get a general sense on what we are going to do here. So first of all, what we want to do is we want to back up our current website in WordPress. So most of the time, we can just easily do that by using a plugin. So we go to our Webflow dashboard, and in the Webflow dashboard, you can have a plugin installed. So you can just go to plugins and install a plugin like the one that we will be using now. We will be using for our one Updraft plus Backup and Restore, but there are also a couple of other ones that also do the same job. So for the backup, it's really important to have that so that we can always go back in time and we don't lose anything. This is the really, really important step. We go in here and then we can just say, hey, we want to back up our full website now. We want to have the database and we want to have the files. And now we can start the backup. And this will take a little bit of time because it will be saved from all the different sources. And then after you have done that, it will appear down here. So last backup that we made was on April 28th. And what you need to do now is you need to download all of the different pieces. So database, download to your computer, plugins, download to your computer, themes. We literally just want to have everything. So if anything goes wrong, we can have it. So we will take all of this. Must use plugins, okay. I don't know what this is. Okay, download to your computer, others. So we have that now. And that's a good start because we have our first thing in our list done. Really easy. Second up, we want to benchmark our current website on Google Search Console and also in any kind of SEO tool. Why do we want to do this? Because we want to see if we screwed anything up in the process, and depending on how much traffic you already get on your website, it could be really, really bad if we screw something up here. So what we want to do is, if you have Search Console installed, just go in here, and as you can see, this is the performance of the website so far. And what I always like to do is I like to do two things. So first of all, I go to search results here. And in the search results, I can see what has happened over the last, let's say, 28 days. Most of the time that's interesting for me. And then I will, on the one hand, just create like a screenshot of what was happening here and just paste it into my Notion file. So I know, okay, 215 clicks, 11K impressions in the last months. And then what we also have down here is the different keywords and the pages that were ranking so far, and we can click on export down here and download everything into a Excel, for example. And this Excel sheet we can then move over to our task board so that we have everything stored. And this is just because we want to in the future be able to go back, take a look at it and see how it was before. And this should be fine. So let's put this to done. And obviously, depending on your website and everything, you can also spend way more time on doing this, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of thought on this. Next up, set up keyword position tracking, or SEO check, let's rather call it. So what I mean with that is, if you have any kind of SEO tool, you can also do a little bit of research in there. So for example, we are using SEMrush quite a lot, and in SEMrush itself, I can create a project for my website. And what I want to do is, same as before in the Search Console, I want to see, okay, how is the status quo right now and what will change over the course of the migration. And what you can do is two things. So first of all, you can go to organic keywords here, and you see the positions that your keywords have right now on the Google search engine. And I can also just do an export here so that I know, for example, Dublin apartment, we are on position, I don't know which position we are on, but we are somewhere on the block here. Okay, so for example, personal growth and development goals, we are on position 39. And obviously, if you have a lot of keywords, there will be tons of informations in here. And this just helps us to check afterwards, but you can also do a little screenshot, for example, of your organic traffic here over time. So we could go in there, save that also to our Notion ticket here, and then know in the future all of the things that we have done or changed, obviously. Okay, so just going to quickly paste that in here, and then we are going to move over, and also the Excel sheet, and then we are going to move over to the next one. But also what you can do, just as a little side note, you can also set up a position tracking on any of these tools. So for example, what that means is you put in a number of keywords, like 100 for example, and set up a position tracking, and SEMrush then notifies you if any keyword has a big drop or like increase in position. And this really helps to also have an eye on the most important keywords, that you are not screwing up anything through the migration. But this is probably another video on how to set this up properly. So we are going to move over to the next one. Okay, so next up, we are going to take a look at the design part of the website. With the design, to be honest, there could be a whole series of videos about it, but ultimately you need to either rebuild the design that you already have right now, you need to use a template, or you need to build a new design on Webflow. And obviously, the more you are changing, the more difficult the migration will be. And rebuilding a full design would be out of scope for this video, so we will probably do another series on that in the future. If you need help on that, also check out our services in the description below. But in the end, everything that you see here and that was once built in WordPress needs to be built in Webflow. And for the purpose of this video, we have already done that before. So as you can see, hey, here before we have it in WordPress, we can edit a page here, but we have rebuilt everything already in Webflow here. So on the left side, you have all the different pages, and we have also the CMS collection and everything, but I will explain that in a little bit more into detail later. To get this done, you can either do it yourself, you can hire a Webflow developer, and huge part of every migration, but out of scope for now. So we are just going to put this on done because it's already there. And let's move over to the next step. Okay, next up, we are going to take a look at our sitemap. So what is a sitemap? It's basically a list of all the pages that are on your website. It helps Google to understand the structure of your website. And we use it to point Google into the right direction, but it's also very, very helpful in any migration because it helps us to understand which pages are on the website and which are not. You can quite easily open up a sitemap by just adding sitemap XML after your URL. And this sitemap can be created by any kind of SEO plugin that you have inside of WordPress. Yeah, for example, Yoast, or we are using all-in-one SEO. And inside a sitemap XML, there can be different sitemaps inside. So for example, here we have one dedicated sitemap for all the posts in our blog CMS. But we also have one sitemap for our post tag sitemaps. These could also all be just in one, but sometimes the SEO plugins are using it like this way to structure it even more. And what we want to do now is we want to quickly save and back up all the sitemaps here. Okay, post sitemap. Then we would save our page sitemap because later on we would use them to create a list of all the pages on our website. And this list really helps us to come up with a migration strategy, or also with an idea of what we need to migrate in the first place. After I have done that, let's move over to the Notion page, download sitemap. Okay, we've done that. And now we want to create a list of pages. What do I mean by that? So we want to know which pages we need to migrate from the old website to the new website. And to do that, I always set up myself a Google Sheet that you will also find in the description below. And we want to make sure to have an idea of what needs to be migrated. So let's, for example, open up the page sitemap here. We have 8 pages: contact, Notion template, thank you, policy, left sidebar. So what I can just do easily here is I'm going to copy over the URLs. This we don't need. And our idea is to have all of the URLs that we want to move over in our new list. Then I want to do the same for the posts. Okay, let's see. I will put this in here. Delete. Okay, and then next up we have our e-landing page site. Okay, let's click on this. I don't think this is already finished, so we can just leave it as it is. Category sitemap. Okay, these do exist, so we need to copy them over. And then we can go over to the last one, post tag sitemap. Okay, we have a lot of tags, so we need to decide later on in the process if this is something that we want to migrate over or not. But let's copy it in. And as we can see, these are 69 pages in total. And we want to make sure that we move all of them over. And we will come back to this page a little bit later. But what I want to do now is I want to define which of these pages are dynamic and which of these pages are static. Dynamic would be something like the tags pages. So these are pages that are automatically generated by the CMS. So I'm just going to mark them as dynamic. Same probably for the category pages. Okay, we have this here. And then what we want to have, okay, the blog pages are also dynamically created. Okay, dynamic. And we need this information later on because we need to decide which pages we will build into the Webflow content management system and which not. And these are static pages. And then we will also want to check which of the pages we want to migrate or not. So for example, I've seen a page here, left sidebar. Let's see what's inside. Okay. Seems legit. So we want to have this. Yes, all of these pages should go over. And we also want to have all of the blog pages that go over. For the categories and tags, I'm just putting a TBD down because we need to see later on in the process if it makes sense to move them over. Okay, And for now, we have downloaded the sitemap and we have created a list of all the pages on the website. It's also helpful if we not only have the full URL, but later on in the process, we also need the slug of the website. So everything that comes after the URL here, or like after the main domain. So I can just quickly copy that over, and then I can just do a search and replace, and would just make it like this. So we want to replace this with nothing. So replace all. Okay, I have, there was a typo in it. And so I just have the slugs here that I can use later on. Okay. Okay, after we have created the list of our pages, there's another cool tool, hack, however you would call it, to use, and this is to check the Google SERPs. So SERPs are the search engine result pages on Google. And as you can see here, we have 69 URLs on our website. And what we can do now is we can check if, or like how many of these pages are in the Google search algorithm, or like in the Google search engine right now. And for that, we can use the function site and then put the domain afterwards. And if I do this, I can see all the pages that were indexed by Google. And most of the time, not 100% of your pages are indexed by Google. So only a percentage of it. Obviously, you want to make sure that you are coming close to 100. But for example, for Maria, it's 24 results that we have on Google here. But this helps us to understand which are the most important pages that are on Google. So let's see, for example, signs of burnout is an article that is here up high on Google. And if I would search here is signs of burnout. Okay, we also have the URL here. I just wanted to show you this quick hack, because afterwards we can also use this function to go into Google and then click on all of the links here to check if the redirects are working properly. But nothing to do about this right now. Next up, we want to export our meta descriptions and meta titles. So meta descriptions are the things that you will see here. So everything that is on Google in the search results. This is the meta title. This is the meta description. It's an information that you can give over to Google with every every single of your pages. So for example, if I take a look here at the source code of the website, we can search for title, and we will have the meta title in here, and we will have the meta description in here. And we want to make sure that we are also transferring these over, because it's an important information for Google and also for the user. So let's try to export them from WordPress or our current website. Yeah, as always in life, there are tons of ways to getting this done, and it also depends a lot on where your titles and meta descriptions are stored right now. So in this website here, I think they are stored in the all-in-one SEO plugin. And so there are a couple of ways to export it from this plugin. So first of all, it could be the case that you can do it with the plugin itself. Second up, we can use a general export plugin that we are using later on in our process once we want to migrate over the content. And I will talk about this a little bit later. And then last but not least, we can use a third-party software. This is what I will show now. And here, just that you have seen it, this is the meta description, meta title that is saved in the SEO plugin of all-in-one. But just jumping over to a quick fix for this one. So if we just want to have the meta descriptions, meta titles as they are right now, what we can do is we can use Screaming Frog. It's a free tool that you can download to your computer. And this is really, really helpful, because what we can do here is we can just scrape any website and it gives us all the titles that the website has right now. And it also gives us the meta descriptions of the website right now. So we can put in the website. I can just click export here, and I just want to have all of the titles as an Excel. And I want to have all of the meta descriptions as an Excel, and we can quickly save that. And then our goal ultimately is to have all of these informations in here in our sheet. So maybe it makes sense to freeze up this one, so I always have the URL in here. And then I can open up my downloads that I just made. So 1 second. Let's see where we have saved it. Okay, meta page titles, all page titles. And you have them in here. So it would be now my job to move them over, and for example, you can just sort by the names here, and then you can just copy over the whole thing. Will save you a lot of time, but just wanted to show in general what I want to do. Policy, so we want to have the information in here of the meta title, and then we also want to have the descriptions in there. So we have the same Excel sheet here for the descriptions. You can see here, main URL. Okay, we copy this over, and then we do the same for the policy. And in the end, we have everything filled up in our sheet here, and then we can work with that later on in the process. And that was it about the meta descriptions and meta titles. Okay, so fast forward, after exporting the meta descriptions, I just used Screaming Frog for now and saved the Excel sheets in my Notion page here. I want to add the meta descriptions to the page list that we created before, and I already did this. So right now we have a full list of all URLs on our website here with the meta title, with the meta description. And this is really, really helpful down the road, because we can easily convert this or like transfer this to Webflow later on. And so what I want to do now is to put this on done and move over to the next element. And this element is forgotten in 99.9% of the migrations, let's say. And you will also won't find too much content about this on the web. And what I talk about is images. So if we go to the website that we are having right now, on the website itself, we have a ton of images. So for example, if we go to the blog, on the blog articles, we will have images, for example, this one. And if we open up this image in the new tab, you will see that the image here, this is the image URL. It's hosted on WordPress content uploads. This is the structure that WordPress always uses to upload the images. And yeah, obviously the URL on the storage of this image will be changed in the future. But images are also a source of traffic for your website sometimes. So sometimes if you remember the SERPs here, you will find images that appear on the search result pages. And users could click here on the link from the image and go over to your website. So for example, if I am here, people can come to the website through this kind of image. And we want to make sure to find the images that are relevant for us, because you could obviously also redirect all of the images, but we just want to find the ones that are relevant for us. And you can see if there are any by going to the search console, search results, and then we will filter for images. And we can see here on Maria's website, 10 clicks were coming through images, but 7,000 impressions in the last 3 months. So these were the top queries where images were coming up. In the end, you always need to think if like the 10 clicks are worth doing the job here, but I just wanted to show it to you anyways. And you will also find the pages of the images here that drive this traffic. So for example, here we have one page, personal growth goals, that was bringing in 3,000 impressions in the Google SERPs and 3 clicks. And if I go to the page, I can take a look at the images that we have here, and it's these two. So I guess what we could do is now I could copy the image address and save it here. Okay, make also sure to use the main URL here, because any kind of WordPress plugin was manipulating it here to compress the image size. But yeah, I just want to have the real URL. Whoop. Okay. Obviously, I need to copy over the image address. And I will just do an example with these two images later on in the process on how I can redirect them. But obviously on this website it's not too big of a topic, but on other websites where you are using a lot of images and these kind of things, it could be a huge topic and also drive a ton of clicks. So this is always something that you should check if significant traffic is coming. So check and find relevant images. This is how you could do it. And then you would create a list of these relevant images in the Google Sheet, so that later on we know these are the ones that we want to redirect to the new to the new website basically. Okay, good that we talked about this. Then next up, find relevant files. So this is a little bit more challenging, I guess, but what I mean with that is sometimes, let's imagine you have been building any kind of freebie, for example. I don't know, a PDF guide around anything, for example, on how to migrate from WordPress to Webflow. And then you always have the opportunity to upload the file to your media library here on WordPress. And for example, then link out to this media library here. And we just want to make sure that any links that are pointing to this will also be redirected for the future, because all of the files that you have on here will be gone in the future. And I'm just having a small example in here. So let's imagine you have a guide as a PDF in here. It could be buried somewhere in all of the 148 items. I would probably just search for PDF to find this one. And so in this case, we have the URL here, and I can just copy that one over. Also create a new sheet here, files, where we would store it, old URL, and then we could redirect that in the future so that everyone that wants to open up this PDF will end up at the right point also on the new website. Now, okay, find relevant files. Okay, done. And find and add relevant files. Okay. Next up, we want to create a list of forms on the website. So most of the time you will have a bunch of forms that you are using on the website. Let's see what kind of forms Maria has. I think I already have seen one. So one newsletter subscribe form on the main page. We would put this in here. Okay, our comment, newsletter subscribe. Okay, we will later on check out what will happen with the submission. This will be relevant because there are different forms of or things that can happen with any submission. So for example, it could go straight into a tool like MailChimp. This is what I think will happen here. But if you go to contact, for example, this will probably end up at Maria's email address. So this is the second one, contact, type, email to Maria. And we want to make sure that we have the same workflow later on in the process. Templates, okay, this is an external link. So I don't think there's any other form on the website here. But this is basically going through it one by one, because otherwise it's impossible to find it automatically. But wanted to make sure to talk about this. So make sure to put the forms in here. This will be newsletter. What happens with the submission? Email to Maria in this case. And here, submission will straight go into newsletter tool of choice. So this will be MailChimp or any other tool. And the comments we can fill out later. And also we want to have a status later to see if we have migrated all of this. Okay, obviously the bigger the site, the more complex the forms will be. Done. Okay, next up what we want to do is we want to list out all of the scripts that are running on the website. Scripts, so this most of the case could be something like Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, or any third-party scripts. I would always ask the one that was setting up the website which scripts are in there, because sometimes they are a little bit tricky to find, and you could go through the source code of the website to find all of them. In this case, I know that all of the scripts were built in with a plugin, and let's see if we can find it. The plugin here is Head and Footer. This is where most of the scripts are positioned. So we can see here, okay, we have a Google Tag Manager in the head section. We have a Facebook pixel code also in the head section here, and then we have the Google Tag Manager in the body. So I would just copy that over and put into my Notion page here. Whoop. Okay, let's open this up. Why isn't it? Weird. Okay, so head section, I can just move all of the stuff in here. And then second up, I would move over the body stuff also in here to store it. And yeah, so most of our scripts should be in there. And then next up, you need to check any kind of tracking functionalities. So I will skip this for this video because this can also be a little bit more extensive how I would do it. For example, in this case, I would go into the Google Tag Manager, and in the Tag Manager, you can then see, okay, what kind of events are firing. So it could be something like if someone goes to the website and clicks on Discover All Templates, an event is fired on Google Tag Manager that will be sent to Facebook, for example. You need to check all of these events, because sometimes if we migrate the website, it could be the case that the classes or IDs of these buttons change and then the tracking is not working anymore. So make sure to really come up with a specific plan around this for your own website. And I will probably make another video on this in the future, but this would be too much for now. Find other dynamic elements. Okay, so in terms of dynamic elements, this could be something like an embedded reviews or any kind of other thing that is happening, a calculator, anything on the website that's going on. We don't have this here, but you also need to take this into account if you have something like that. Maybe I can just show as an example. Could also be something like on our website here, we have a landing page inspiration page where you have a dynamic filter of these different pages here. Something like this also needs to be transferred. So make sure to list the dynamic elements of your page out and come up with a plan to migrate them. Okay, next up, after all of this preparation, we are ready to go for the migration basically. And I think let's start with an explanation on the CMS in WordPress versus Webflow. So I think this is really, really important to set up the right structure on both, or especially the new website. In general, for the content, there are different levels of content. So first of all, we will have static pages. Most of the pages on your website are probably static pages. And these are pages where you have content that you put in once and won't change often. And most of these pages will have a totally different layout. Some basic examples are the home page, the About Us page, or a privacy policy page. And if we are going over to Maria's website here, we can take a look. And what we will see is, for example, this one is a static page. And then we will have the contact page. This one is a static page. The policy page. This one is a static page. So all different layouts and not something that is pulled in dynamically. Templates is just linking outbound, but yeah, you see what I mean. Then we have like dynamic pages, and dynamic pages are things that are in WordPress most often called posts. So if I would go into WordPress and take a look here, it would be the post section here. So what we have here is a layout that will automatically be filled by content that we put in. So for example, a blog article. A blog article I will put in the content, but the layout will be same for all of the blog article pages. As an example, we go in here. We will have the blog article, looks like this. If I go over to the next blog article, looks similar from the structure, and I put in the content on the backend. So these are dynamic pages. And obviously also we can pull all of the content from the dynamic items, let's say, into, for example, a blog overview page where you have all of the different blog articles under each other. And once I create a new article, it will be listed up in this list. And besides these dynamic pages, we can also have dynamic collections. So let's imagine we have a website where we have a bunch of team members that we want to show. And we want to show these team members on different areas of a website. We can create a collection and put all the information about the team members in, and then just showcase it on different areas of the website or on one specific page. In Maria's example here, this could be something like her templates. So she is creating a ton of templates. Some are featured here on the front page. Right now, this is static content. So she always needs to update it manually once she has a new template, but we can also create a collection in Webflow to automatically pull the templates in there and structure it in an easier way. And in general, to have some more context on this, when does it make sense to use a CMS collection? And CMS collection in the first place is the description of how it is named in WordPress, in Webflow itself. So it makes sense to use it if the content is edited a lot. Also, people are editing the content that are not so tech savvy. Then you have the content often on different subpages. So for example, in the blog case, you have the different articles on the blog overview page, but also you could have like related blog articles on the individual pages if the content has a similar structure and if the content is edited by different people. It makes sense to have it. And just to give you a small glimpse on how that looks like. So this is the Webflow website here, and we have a part inside our Webflow editor here that is called CMS. And these are our CMS collections. And I will go to this in a minute and show you more about the blog post specifically, but you can create a long list of potential collections here and structure and host your content. Okay, so let's go back to the to-do board. We wanted to think about setting up the CMS structure. So let's take a look at Maria's website. It's very, very basic. So what we will have here is the blog. These are dynamic things that are happening. So the blog content, and then there could only be a second collection that is the featured templates or the templates in general. But I think she's only releasing, I don't know, a handful of templates per year. So this can also stay static for now, and we can move this to a dynamic collection later on in the process. So let's start focusing on the dynamic collection of the blog post. And I will quickly open up the blog here so that we can see it. Okay, what we want to do now is we want to set up the CMS. And in Webflow, you can just go in here and create a new collection. And the blog collection has already been created. As we can see, there are no items in there yet. So what we want to do here is we want to edit the collection and add the fields that we need. Okay, let's start with the basic information. Okay, we want to make sure that the blog articles are in the right directory. So right now, all of Maria's blog articles are in the URL and then /title or slug of the blog articles. We can't do this on Webflow, so we need to change something, and we would have the directory blog first, and then the title of the blog or /the slug would come up next. Okay, a blog article will always have a name and a slug. Name would be this one, slug would be this one. Okay, agree. We want to have this. Then we have a date in which this blog article is created, and we will have an automatic date that is created by Webflow for all of the posts, but it's always easier if we also have a date here, so that we can manually manipulate the date to the point where we want to have it. So let's save date here. Next up, what we have is a category. Okay, so she has 3, 6, 9 categories that we can also show on the front page. And for the categories, I would say it makes sense to create a new collection itself, because on her website right now, she also has the category links here and shows the different articles that are in the category. So we want to have the category. A category has a name, has a slug. I don't think we need an icon or something. Okay, let's keep it really, really basic. We can have a description for the future that you can show, but that's about it. And we would create that collection. And what we would do now in the next step is we would probably upload these 9 items into the Webflow CMS as the specific categories. And then let's just do it with an example. Okay, let's create one, digital marketing. Okay, created. And then we go back to the blog post, and in the blog post, we now want to add a field that says, hey, we want to reference, okay, reference a category. And then you can pick the collection that wants to be referenced. So in this case, every blog article should have a category that is pulled from this collection. Okay, let's save this up here, category. Okay, what's next. Next up, we will have a description, or like the content of a blog. Okay, we will have a rich text. Rich text means this is text that can be formatted. So for example, bold text in the enumerations and these kind of things. And this is the correct field for the blog article. Next up, what we want to have is we want to have a hero image. And the hero image we are using for a couple of things. So we are using it to show it on the blog overview page, but we can also use it as an open graph image and all sorts of things. So we want to have this in here. I don't think we need a thumbnail image. Sometimes you need different images for the blog itself and the overview or something, but we don't need that. And then let's see, what else do we need? We would need, okay, related posts. This is what we can automatically generate. Basically, that's already it. Let's see on the blog if we are missing something. No, this should be fine. So we don't need a featured here. This could be a switch that you put on once if you want to show some articles up in the top, but we delete this. And then for post summary, I don't know how it's built right now. Notion templates, let's see. Okay, yeah, there is some sort of like short description that we can show on the category page. But now as we have it, we can save the collection and the automatic setup for the CMS is done. Obviously, for all the elements that you have on your WordPress website, you need to really think about this, how the structure could look like in Webflow, and then also think one step ahead of features that you could use for the future. But I think we are good for now and can put this on done. And now the interesting part happens. So we need to export the content from WordPress and start migrating. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to automatically transfer the posts, so the dynamic content that we have on WordPress, over to Webflow. And to do that, Webflow has a very, very interesting function that is a CSV import. So in Webflow itself, we can go in there, import a CSV file with the content that we are getting from WordPress. It's not 100% perfect, but it does most of the job. And I will just walk you through how to do it. So at first we need a plugin to export all posts as CSVs from WordPress. To do that, we are using this WP All Expert plugin. Where I'm just going to choose posts, then we will migrate the posts, and you will get a CSV file. This CSV file, I will quickly open up and show you, is, let's say, 90% okay for our use case, because table tool, this is my CSV opener. As you can see, we have titles in here, we have the content in there, we have the image description, featured image, category, and all of these things in here. But sometimes we need to manipulate the content a little bit so that it fits into Webflow perfectly, because the import only works if everything is like 100% matched. Otherwise, a lot of stuff will be left out, and I will just go through it real quick on what the most important things are here. And then obviously I can't go too much into detail in this video, but I think after a little bit of trial and error, you will figure it out. So first of all, I wanted to import all of the posts in here. Then what I want to make sure first is to resize the rows just to make it easier to grasp. And as we can see, we have 41 articles in here. And the first thing that I want to do here is we have a lot of them that are still in the draft stage. So for this specific example, they are not relevant for us. So I'm going to filter them out and just delete them, because it makes it way more complex to also import them. So we have all the ones in here. The first thing that I'm seeing, as you remember, we were creating a short description field in the CMS in Webflow. We don't have a short description for all of the articles. So now could be a good time to add these short descriptions in here. You can also do it afterwards, but obviously if they are already in here, it's easier to implement, or not implement, but upload into Webflow. Second issue that I came across was that we have tags here that we used before on our WordPress installation. We don't have tags in Webflow. So in the CMS, there is no tag field, so we will probably leave them out. You could use a multi-reference field to build something like that. So a category here with all of the tags, but I think it doesn't make sense for now to do it, because it would be too much work. And the second thing that I'm seeing, categories here. So in WordPress, we have the possibility to have like a subcategory and then a category that is below that. As we created the categories here in Webflow, as you can see, the categories here are all on the same hierarchy. So what would not work here is to implement or input the categories, upload the categories that we have into Webflow. So what we need to do is the text needs to be exactly the same. So what I would do here is to quickly go through them, and obviously you can make this a little bit more detailed for your page, but I would quickly change those things here and just have one category for all of them, so that we can also import that in a bit. Okay, should be fine with this one. And I was just exporting the categories here from Webflow to have the exact spelling in here, because otherwise it will be hard to import. Okay, but I think we are good for now for this example. So let's see. We want to download this as a CSV now. Oh, no, I forgot one important thing that we also want to do. Or let's say we could do it. We don't need to do it. Okay, let's just keep it for now. Let's keep it simple. Okay, so I downloaded the CSV, and now I want to go into Webflow, and we want to import all of it. Yes, this is the header, and now what we are going to do is the matching. So the title from our CSV should be the name, then the content will be mapped to the post body, you can already see a suggestion here. The app excerpt will be mapped to the post summary. The date will be the date. And then we will have the image URL. So we can map that one to the main image. And what else? Category. We can map the category to the category field. Okay, also good. The slug is mapped and everything else is not interesting for now. And you can always like see or like try it out on the right to see how it looks like. And so we want to import the 30 blog articles now. Yes, we want to also do a backup before, and now we can see what happens. So if you prepare the CSV file in a good way before, it should be quite easy. Most of them should be able to be imported. Sometimes an issue arises and then you need to do a little bit back and forth with it. But as you can see, this one, everything goes fine. And now we have a lot of the automatic content in the Webflow CMS. And as you can see here, you can actually work on the content here. You can change the content, and we will also show in a minute how it will look in the front end. What you can see here is that still some of the post summaries are missing and the main images. So there needs to be some manual work also later on in the process. This is not 100% automatic, but it's a very, very good first step. Okay, now we have already done the export of the dynamic content. We also already uploaded the dynamic content. There needs to still happen a lot of work on this, but let's keep it for now. Add static content and images. Okay, this is the big one. So as you can already imagine, all of the pages that we have been building manually in WordPress before. So for example, here on the pages side, like the home page, they also need to be transferred to your Webflow installation. And to actually do that, this is basically manual work. So all of the things that you see here, you need to manually copy over the headings. You need to manually create the design, and in the end, go through all the pages that we have here that are static, one by one, and then change the status and migrate it, let's say. Go through them one by one and create them here in Webflow. And a new page in Webflow is always created if you use this create new page button. And for example, here we have the home page. All of the things that you will find in here are manually moved over. All of the links, for example, as you can see here, the link would be open link in new tab. This one is still missing, so you need to go in here and move everything over one by one. And this is a lot of work, I know, but there's no automatic way of doing it. And then also really, really important, and this is why we were grabbing the meta titles and meta descriptions earlier. If you create a new page in Webflow, it will look like this. So empty title, empty meta descriptions. And so what I would do here is I need to go in, copy that over into the title tag, use the meta description, put it in here. And then, for example, we also would use a open graph image. In our case, we could just let's see. It could look like this, for example. So if you save that, Maria, then let's save it for now real quick. We could upload a new, we have it already uploaded here. So we could pick the URL and then paste it in here on the open graph image. And obviously what we can also do, we can also have the open graph title and open graph description always the same as the meta title and meta tag. So I know I was rushing a little bit through this section, but in the end, basically it's about copying over one by one manually all the stuff that you are having on your WordPress website right now. And to be able to track all of the things that you are doing, make sure to use this file and really mark always, okay, I'm done with this page. You can even make it green so that you know, okay, from a content perspective, it's already everything moved over. And then you can go through the websites one by one. Also important to know if you are moving over content and, for example, images. So this is the really bad example of how you shouldn't do it. So an image, the image title itself is always already quite helpful for SEO. So in this case, the image is called Screenshot 2023. Instead it could be productivity tools, Notion templates, and more. And you would upload the image also here manually. And yeah, then basically go through all of the sites one by one to do it. And this is what we have done here. So we have the homepage, we have the contact page, we have the blog page, everything moved over. Always think of images, content, meta title, meta description, and then you are good to go. And let's move over to some of the dynamic content that we can take a look at now. Okay, now as we have done all the static pages, hopefully we can move over to the dynamic pages. And as we already have the content, we can now start to work with the content. And for each, let's say, CMS collection that we are having, it will automatically be created a page here on the left. And if we go in there, two things are quite interesting. So first thing, we already prepared the design here, and now we can start to connect the CMS items with the design. So we have the design elements here, and what I would do now is I would go in and connect this one. Okay, category. We can go in, category name. This is the one that we gave them. Then we have the date that we can automatically pull in here. For the date, okay, everything fixed. So this should move over to the blog section, that's fine. Then this is the blog content, the post body that we are connecting. And then what else could we have in here? Okay, so on the right side, the categories, you can either have them manually pull in here, or you can also have them automatically pull in here if you are using another CMS collection list. We want to have the categories. Okay, that's good for now. Let's see. Whoop. We want to have it in here. Okay. I'm just trying to have like a category link. Okay, and we want to have the text from the categories. And now, as you can see, we automatically pulled all of the categories in, and they are also automatically linked to where they are supposed to be. I'm not going to show you how to build the search field. This is a functionality that needs a little bit more work. But then you can also make that happen. And for the related posts down here, we are using the same structure that we just used for the categories themselves. So we can still put a collection list in here. And this collection list then would display related blog articles, and we can connect that. But I also won't show that in here in the video because it would take a little bit more work, and I just wanted to high level note on how to do this. And then like this, we have created a dynamic content page. And also for the dynamic content pages, it's important to think of the meta titles and meta descriptions. So in here, you can either have something fixed in here, or obviously we want to pull that from the CMS also. So this could be the name, then the post summary. We would have the same for the SEO title and SEO meta description. And then you can also pull the main image here as the OG image. in this article, the post summary is empty, so this one will be empty. But if it's filled in the CMS, it will automatically populate. And as I mentioned before, we are using these dynamic content pieces to also showcase them on different sites. So for example, here we have the website with the blog, with all the blog articles, and it looks like this for now. And we want to automatically show the ones that we have now in our CMS. And this is just like an example how it would look like. But you can also go in here, use a collection list that you put in here, and showcase all of the blog articles automatically. And you obviously need to go through everything logically, step by step, to make that work. And I will probably make a couple of more videos later on in the process on how to do this. But yeah, that was about it for the dynamic pages. Okay, in this part, I want to quickly talk about one issue that sometimes comes up around internal links in the CMS. So sometimes if you are in WordPress here, and you can have like internal links quite easily. So you could go in and let's say we want to link that to a Notion article. We can just quickly type in Notion and link that out. And this function doesn't exist in Webflow. So the same article, let's say it's reasons. Okay. So let's say we have the article in here. In Webflow, if we want to link out here, we will always need the full URL in here. So sometimes if you transfer over content by importing it with a CSV, the links here are not 100% correct, or let's say they are relative links, so not the full links, and then the links aren't working as properly as they should be. So I would really go through all of the articles that you have and check if there are any kind of broken links. And if you are setting internal links here, always make sure to use the absolute URL, and then everything will be fine. Okay, same stuff that always happens is with anchors. So in WordPress, it's really easy to build anchors to specific elements. They won't work if you transfer them over to Webflow. So sometimes if you have a table of content, let's say here, it won't work because you need to build it differently in Webflow. And I will show in a different video how that is done. So make sure to delete the anchors for now or rebuild them in a Webflow way. In terms of the images, so in Webflow, the images that were imported, make sure that you can always give them. Okay, some of the custom descriptions are with us here, but in terms of the size, you can always pick the size of the image itself. So if we go in here, let's see if we have any kind of article that has an image in here. Okay, that's reasons why you should not use Notion. Maybe this one we can take a look at. Okay, let's go in here. Okay, sometimes you need to reload Webflow because it's not working anymore. But what I wanted to say is, like, you can change the dimension of an image. As you can see here, the image is like half of the size, but you can also make it full size. If you go inside the CMS, and then you can click on the image, change the position, change the size just by clicking on it. And if I save it now, we could go back to the page, and as you can see, it's big. So a little bit of manual work with all of the blog articles, but still not too bad. Okay. Okay, so next up on our list of things to do would be the forms on the website. And for the forms, let's have a quick look. So we created our list here with the forms that we have. So it's only two: newsletter form on the main page and then a contact page form here. And we are going to start with the second one here. So in Webflow itself, the form was built in WP forms. This is like what the Webflow page looks like. And as you can see here, okay, WP forms, WP forms, simple contact form. So I was just going into the settings here, into the forms builder, and then here simple contact form was the one that we were using. And you can go in there and see on the first side the different inputs that we are having, and we can just copy that. And then also really important, you can go to settings and see, okay, they will be sent to this email address here. And yeah, basically what we can do is we can go to Webflow and we can use the Webflow form builder to create a form like this. So it's really, really easy to do that. There are tons of videos also. You just take the form blocks here. We have the same inputs. We can also give the form here a name. So we could say, hey, this is our contact form. And then we have the different places here. So this would be name, this would be email address, and this would be message. And for this form, this is a very simple one. As we noted down here, we will just have an email notification. And for the email notifications, we can go into the Webflow settings. And in the settings, we can then go to forms and define here where the email should go to. So in this case, to Maria's email address. And the sender name would be Webflow. And then we would have the email here, maria@maria.com. And then this is the body of the email that we could put in here, and then she will automatically get the emails. And then let's check out the second form that we were having. We were having it on the main page. So I could go into pages here and go to home and check out what it looks like. So this website is built with Elementor. It's a very popular website builder here. And we can see here that she has the form down here. Section. Okay, this is probably the footer. So we need to check at a different point. Okay, so after the contact form, there's a second form, our newsletter here. So in this case, it's a newsletter form that is from MailerLite. Some of you might use MailChimp or ConvertKit or any other solution, but you will find it in Appearance, Customize, and then we would customize the theme here because it is built into the footer. And in the footer itself, you will see here, it's just an embed from MailerLite. So a lot of code in here that styles the slide, but also styles the form, but also gives it functionality. And you will get this code in MailerLite directly. Right now on WordPress, the HTML code here was embedded. You can do the same for Webflow by just using a embed feature here. Sometimes the code that you would put in here is too long and exceeds the limit of 10,000 characters. Then you can just use the JavaScript snippet that is really easy to use. Or, and this is what we most of the time do, if you want to use the native forms of Webflow, you can also do that. So this form is built natively in Webflow. It has the best usability and the best design capabilities. And then you can just use a tool like Zapier or make.com to, whenever someone submits the form, transfer them over to your newsletter tool of choice, MailerLite, MailChimp, whatever you like. And yeah, everything will be good. Okay, so now we have done, or like at least talked about the forms. Obviously, you need to take all the steps. Next up on our list, a couple of quick fixes, quick things. First up, meta titles and descriptions. I already talked about this a little bit before, but what you need to do, you need to make sure that every site on this left side has a meta title, has a description. You can pull them from the list that you have here, and then obviously make sure to also mark the ones that you already did. And second up, for the automatic pages or like dynamic pages, these can also be automatically populated. In this case, the name of the blog article is the meta title, the post summary is the description, and they will automatically be filled into this one. All of these things are really, really important to have for SEO rankings. And so make sure to either create them new or transfer them from what they have been before. After we have done that, let's take a look at the next step in our task board here. So here we go. Next up, we want to add the fav icon. That is really easy to do. So we just go to the Webflow pages settings. And then here you will have the setting for the fav icon. And in this case, I don't even know if we had one before. So let's take a look. You can even like just use a tool like fav icon grabber. Okay, there was an issue. Maybe we try another one. Or you just get it from your website that you have before. So here they have downloaded one. Okay, this is the nice logo. So we can just go into the settings, upload it, and the fav icon is something that will be shown up here in the book in the command bar of your browser. And also here we want to have a bigger size for the web clip. Web clip is whenever someone puts the website on their screen of their like home screen, for example, on the iPhone. So make sure to also fill that in. Probably you need to build that in any kind of graphic program. Next up, what you can do is you can add any type of like external scripts. So if you remember correctly, before we were copying over the scripts that we had on our old WordPress website. So list out scripts. Let's take a look if we can open that up. Sometimes it's a little buggy, but we will figure it out. And we have something that belongs into the head, and we can just copy it over here into the settings. And then we go to custom code, put that into the head, and we would do the same for everything that we would need for the body. So in here, save that, and all the scripts are transferred. Obviously, as I mentioned before, any kind of tracking functionalities you need to double check with your Google Tag Manager to make everything work. Set up sitemap in Webflow. So the same way we wanted to have a sitemap before, we now want to have a sitemap also in Webflow. So what we need to do is here, first of all, we want to auto-generate the sitemap. So every page that is on your website will automatically be put into the sitemap. And second up, we want to disable Webflow subdomain indexing. What is this? So whenever you have a Webflow website you change something, you can try it out first on a so-called staging. This is the subdomain for it. And the thing is, you don't want to have content on your subdomain that will be crawled by Google, because then there will be duplicate content and Google will send the people to the wrong domain. So this is why we disable the indexing for the subdomain, and only the main domain, once we connect it, will be crawled by Google and everything will be fine. So we have done that. We have set up the sitemap. And then next up, we want to set up the canonicals in Google and a couple of other things, not Google, in Webflow. So let's go to general first. So first of all, we want to have the language code also here. So in this, okay, we would change this. We would also put the right time zone on here, Europe, Berlin, English time zone. Then what we want to do is we want to disable the Made in Webflow badge and the branding. We don't need that. Second up, site access. Let's see what we can do there. Okay, this is where we invite all the other people that need access to the website. Also, one step later on here, invite team members. We already did this. Good to know. For the publishing. So the redirects, we need to do this in a minute, but what we can already do is we can minify CSS and minify JavaScript. So this just means they are using a technology to compress all of the files or the file size of your website to make it load quicker. We really want to have that. So it's also an easy fix. Compress, minify JavaScript, done. And then what else do we have? We need to connect our domain. So yeah, maybe that would be next. In terms of the URLs, we want to make sure that none of the URLs that have been there before are not accessible in the future. So now we need to go through the different pages and see which domains or like URLs changed and which not. And then we need to set up 301 redirects. 301 redirect, what does it basically do is it redirects an old path of a URL to a new path. And we want to make sure that all of these are properly set up so that no one ends in no man's land, and also Google understands what the website looks like. So let's just think about our main page first. So this was the main URL that we had before, and also, and I will just open up a second tab to quickly show to you. Yeah, maybe we go in here. This URL will stay the same because we will just connect the domain, and then your old URL will be equal to new URL. Right now it's still the subdomain here, but once we connect the main one, you will see that this will be identical. So this one will be the same as before. So for us, let's just move this up here. No redirect needed. As a different example, we have a blog article here, and I before mentioned it. Before we had the problem that, or not the problem, but before the URLs of the blog articles were domain.com/name of the blog article. So what we've been doing here, avoid burnout as a graduate, we can go into the blog post itself, and we can see that the slug of the article, avoid burnout as a graduate, is staying the same, but now there's a directory before that is called blog. So what will happen is that the URL changes from this one to, I'm just going to paste it in here. This will be our new slug. Just moving that over. So the new slug, so the thing that needs to be added to the domain will be not only the title here, but there will be a blog before. And we will have the same stuff, for example, for the benefits of personal brand. Let's go in, check it. Benefits of personal brand. Okay, blog before. So we can just copy that over. And obviously you can also just use a concat function here in Google Sheets to create that. /blog. This is the one that will probably stay the same because we can see the URL here. Okay, /blog will stay the same. So we don't need to change anything. And like this, we need to go through all of the different URLs that we are having here. But this can also be the category, for example, category lifestyle. So let's see. We would go into categories, category, okay. We probably haven't built the page out yet, but let's see what that looks like. 1 second, I was clicking on the wrong button. Okay, it's loading. And if we go into the CMS category here, we can click into the collection and lifestyle, and we see, okay, category lifestyle, the URL will stay the same. So if all the different collection items that we have here are the same as here, nothing needs to change because we have all of these things already in the same sort of, similar to what we have before. So we would go through all of the different things here and check which URLs we need to redirect and which we don't need to redirect. And now how we actually do it, I will just do one example. So this one here, avoid burnout as a graduate. We can go to the Webflow site settings. And in the site settings, we go to SEO. Oh no, publishing it is. To publishing, and then we will have the 301 redirects. We can put the old path in there. Then we would put in the new path in there, add redirect. And now whenever someone goes onto the old URL, they will be redirected to the new ones, and even Google will be redirected. And this is how you need to do it for all of the pages in here. As I mentioned before, for example, we won't have these tags anymore. So there are two ways on how to handle it. First version would be that you just do a redirect from this page to the main page, for example. So from /tag/change to just the main page, but probably this is not what Google likes the most because the content on the page is not the same anymore. You could also go to blog, this is closer, or what would happen if someone clicks on the link and it's gone, they would end up on a 404 page. And this is also an okay sign for Google because that means a URL is gone and they can just drop it out of the index. And you also have all the possibilities to customize this 404 page whenever you like. So for example, say, hey, this page doesn't exist anymore, go back to my homepage. Okay, so we have talked about the redirects. Canonicals, we are not going to cover this into detail in this video, but you can read about this in the template here. Next step would be to connect the domain. Okay, so in this example, we are just going to make an example. So what I would do here is I would connect the real domain now that I'm having. And to do that, I would manually add domain. And the real one would be .com now, but for this test, I just want to show it to you with a different domain on how to connect it. Obviously, for all of the redirects, you want to make sure that it is the real domain. If you are changing even your main domain, then you need to have the redirects set up somewhere else where the old domain is handled. But I just wanted to show how to quickly connect a new domain. So this case, we want to have the DE one, and we need a couple of DNS settings. At your domain hoster, it will look something like this. So you can add text ones, you will have the host in there, and then you will take the value. Okay. Then you will add a new record. The new record will be an A. So the host will be an @ Okay, done. And then the third one will be also an @ and also the number here. TTL means time to live, so the shorter the time here is, the quicker you will see the changes. But in general, you need to take into account that DNS changes can take up to 24 hours. So sometimes it takes a while till you have everything set up properly, but hopefully this time it will go a little bit quicker. So I put everything in here, and then we go back to Webflow and we start to verify the domain. As you can see, it's not working yet, but should be in a minute. So, and while we wait for the domain to connect, we can already quickly talk through some of the next steps. So add alt tags. This is something that I can only recommend you. Also a little bit of manual work, so make sure for SEO, it's quite common that a lot of the alternative text on the images got lost in the transition. So go through all of the images, add the alt text here as a custom description. Really helps for all types of SEO. And it's on the static pages, but also if you're going inside the CMS, you can also add the alt text here in the CMS itself for all of the images. Next up, compress images. Yeah, sometimes if you are uploading stuff to the Webflow library here, there the images are not compressed yet. Images compressing is very, very helpful if you think about loading times for your website. Webflow has this really cool feature that you can go into your library. You can then select all of the images that you want, or like, let's deselect all, but we could select a couple of images, for example, and then just click compress up here, and that would really help us to increase or like decrease the file size of those. And it's a really cool thing to do. And this will also help in terms of loading size of your website. So rich snippets is something that you can Google and yet that you can also add to your Webflow website. Possibly also a different video, not something for now, can be added, and then you can even further improve your website. Okay, so after most of this migration and optimization part is done, it's time for Q&A. And Q&A here is really, really important. So you need to check if all of the migration work that you did was, successful, let's say. And first of all, I would start with checking the CMS content for formatting issues. As I already said, the upload feature here that we are having for the blog post is okay-ish, but sometimes the formatting inside these articles is not optimal. And you could either like check this in the CMS editor here, but even better if you go through the articles one by one on the real page. So either here in the designer, you can go to blog posts and then check out all the articles here and see if something looks weird. For example, if the images are too small or something like that. Or you could do the same by just going to the main page and writing it down and trying to fix any kind of issues that might come up. Second up, most important one, try URLs and search for errors. This is why we created this sheet here. So please go through every single URL that you had before on the website. Click on it and see if the redirects are working, if you are ending up on a real website. So in the best case, now this would be redirected to the new URL. It's not yet because the test is not done yet, but go through all of them manually to check it out. And also you can use the stuff that I was talking about earlier. You can go to Google and click on each of the search results to make sure that in the end, all of the URLs are working. Okay, check URLs and SERPs. This is what I just told you. Check website in different browsers and devices. Obviously, you need to see if all the designs are working properly. And you can also do that easily yourself or test with your colleagues. Check if all pages are migrated. You will probably see that if you're checking the URLs. So if some of the pages are not migrated yet, you can do that. Or obviously you can also decide to not migrate all, but then you need to also come up with a redirect or let the user end up in the 404. Check for redirect loops. So this is something that you should also do. So for example, if one URL redirects to the next, you can skip that. You can use any SEO tool for that. Just Google for redirect loops or site audit. So this is something that you can also do, for example, in SEMrush, as I showed you before. So you could go in there on the SEO dashboard and go to a project. Let's see where the projects are. You could go to the page and then just run a site audit, and then they will bring up most of the issues and also optimization potentials, also in terms of alt images, meta titles, and all of these things. Check if all pages have meta titles and descriptions. You can use Screaming Frog, so the tool that I showed you earlier for that. Just take this, put the new URL in, and then you see if all the pages have the titles, have the descriptions. Easy to do. And then you should test every form on the website. So go back to this page, then check the forms and try out the forms and see if the submissions end up where they are supposed to be. Check if all scripts are working. So this can be tested through the Google Tag Manager itself, through the preview feature. Not going too much into detail on that. That's a different video. Run an SEO audit, already mentioned that before. And then afterwards, you can do like two things to get the new website started, especially if you have new let's say new URLs. So first of all, you can go to the search console, and then let's quickly change the account here. You can go in here and you can submit your new sitemap. So we go to sitemap, and then you would just submit the sitemap XML here, and Google will come and crawl your new website. So this is the first important step. And then what you always track in the search console is any kind of error. So people ending up on pages that are 404, so pages that are not there anymore. And you will always get that here in the analytics part. So for yeah, somewhere around here you will find it. Okay, here. Pages 404 not found, and then you will get a list of pages that are not found and that you can fix along the lines. And that was, yeah, a full WordPress to Webflow migration in video that was, yeah, a little bit longer than I would have expected it to be, and still there was a lot of stuff that I left out or that could be added to it, like more context, but I hope this was helpful. And just to quickly show you, this is what it looks like if the domains are connected. You can decide for one default domain here. So this is the main one. As I mentioned before, www, and without it's not the same. So you need to pick one. And then it will also end up here in production so that you can publish it from here. And yeah, that was basically it for the migration. As a next step for you, first of all, if you liked the video, please leave a subscribe, leave a like, comment what you liked, what you disliked about the video. Second up, you can download the migration checklist below. These are all the steps that I took to migrate the website from WordPress to Webflow. And obviously, if you need some help with your migration, also check the descriptions below. We are here to help you move over your website from WordPress to Webflow in no time. And yeah, thanks for listening. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.